Many foreigners come to the Philippines believing that dating here is easy. They hear stories about how Filipinas are affectionate, loyal, and devoted. But is that the full truth? Is dating a Filipina really what you expect? Today, we're going to reveal the reality of dating a Filipina, the things nobody tells you, the surprises, and the challenges. Before you make any big decisions, you need to hear this. When a foreigner arrives in the Philippines, one of the first things he notices is how friendly and welcoming the people are. The atmosphere feels different from what he is used to. Women smile at him, approach him, and genuinely seem interested in getting to know him. Unlike in the West, where dating can sometimes feel like a complicated game, here, everything seems simple and natural. He starts to feel a kind of attention and appreciation that he may not have experienced in a long time. Then, he meets a Filipina who completely captures his heart. She treats him with kindness, calls him love or honey after just a few days, and constantly checks on him to see if he has eaten, if he is feeling okay, or if he needs anything. She holds his hand in public, proudly introducing him to her friends and family. She is affectionate, attentive, and always seems eager to make him happy. It feels refreshing, unlike anything he has experienced before. He begins to think that this is what love should feel like. It is simple, it is effortless, and it is deeply fulfilling. Many foreign men start to believe that they have finally found the kind of relationship they have always wanted, the one based on devotion, loyalty, and true care. The relationship moves quickly. She talks about a future together, she hints at marriage, and she makes him feel like he is the most important person in her life. It all feels perfect. But here is the question, is dating a Filipina really this effortless? Or are there things that foreigners fail to see at first? At the beginning of the relationship, everything feels light and joyful. But over time, small things begin to change. She starts asking more questions, where he is going, who he is talking to, what he is doing when they are not together. At first, it feels like she just cares about him, like she is deeply invested in the relationship. But slowly, he realizes that she wants to know everything. If he does not reply to her messages quickly, she becomes upset. If he talks to another woman, even casually, she wants to know why. If he wants to spend time alone or with his friends, she asks why she is not included. What once felt like affection now starts to feel like control. He notices that she becomes anxious if he does not give her constant reassurance. She expects him to always be available, always be attentive, and always put the relationship first. What he thought was simple love now begins to feel like pressure. Then, there is her family. In the beginning, he loved how close she was to them. It made him feel like she came from a warm, caring background. But soon, he realizes that her family is not just a part of her life, they are deeply involved in her decisions, including their relationship. If they need something, she feels responsible to help them. And sometimes, she expects him to be part of that help. Financial expectations begin to surface in subtle ways. She never directly asks for money, but she mentions struggles, her younger siblings' school fees, her parents' medical bills, her family's financial difficulties. She talks about these things in a way that makes him feel like he should offer to help. At first, he does. He loves her, and he wants her to be happy. He tells himself that it is nothing, just a small amount to help with something important. But then, the requests continue. Each time, it feels like just one more thing. He realizes that he is no longer just her boyfriend, he is slowly becoming a provider. The more he gives, the more it feels expected. And if he ever says no, she seems disappointed. She does not argue, but she becomes quiet. She makes him feel guilty for not helping. At this point, many foreign men start feeling overwhelmed. They still love their Filipina, but they also feel that they are losing control of the relationship. They see their time, their independence, and their money being shared in ways they never planned for. Some men feel that the relationship is no longer about just the two of them, it is about her entire family. Some men adjust, accepting that this is part of being with a Filipina. They provide without questioning, knowing that helping her family is part of the culture. Others start feeling trapped, realizing too late that they entered a situation they were not prepared for. For those who marry too soon, the challenges become even more difficult. Some foreigners believe that getting married will strengthen the relationship, that it will bring more security and commitment. But in the Philippines, marriage is almost permanent. Divorce does not exist, and annulments are expensive and complicated. If a foreigner marries a Filipina without fully understanding what that commitment means, he may find himself in a situation where he feels stuck. Some men stay in unhappy marriages because they feel guilty about leaving. Others realize too late that walking away is not as easy as they thought. But not every relationship ends this way. Some foreigners take their time. They observe before making big commitments. They ask the right questions early in the relationship. They talk about finances, family involvement, and expectations before things become serious. They set boundaries and make sure their Filipina loves them for who they are, not just for what they can provide. The foreigners who succeed in relationships with Filipinas are the ones who approach love with both heart and mind. They respect her culture, but they also make sure that their own needs are met. They build relationships based on trust, communication, and mutual understanding. So, is dating a Filipina really what you expect? The truth is, it depends. Love in the Philippines is real, but it comes with challenges that many foreigners do not see at first. If you take your time, communicate openly, and understand the cultural differences, you can build a strong, lasting relationship. But if you rush in, believing only in the fantasy, you may find yourself facing unexpected problems. Before taking the next step, ask yourself, do I truly understand what this relationship involves? Have we talked about money, family, and expectations? Am I making this decision based on reality, or am I just caught up in emotions? If your answer is yes, then dating a Filipina can be one of the most rewarding experiences of your life. But if you have doubts, take your time. True love is never rushed. The best relationships are built on trust, understanding, and shared values. If you enter with both your heart and mind open, you may just find the love of a lifetime. At first, everything feels like a dream. She calls you love, she takes care of you, and she always wants to be with you. She is affectionate, she prioritizes your happiness, and she makes you feel special in a way that you never experienced before. Unlike in Western dating culture, where relationships can feel distant or full of games, here, love feels simple and real. Many foreign men fall for this and believe they have found the perfect woman. But is love in the Philippines really this effortless? For many foreigners, the first few weeks or months of dating a Filipina feel like a fantasy. She showers you with affection, checks on you constantly, and makes sure you are always comfortable. She takes pride in cooking for you, holding your hand in public, and making you feel wanted. Unlike in the West, where relationships can feel like a constant competition, where you have to prove yourself and fight for attention, here in the Philippines, love feels natural. A Filipina expresses her love freely, without hesitation. She tells you she loves you after only a few weeks, and she makes you believe that this is the deep connection you have been searching for. You feel like you are the center of her world. She laughs at your jokes, even if they are not funny. She listens intently to your stories, even if you have told them before. She always seems eager to spend time with you, never making excuses or seeming too busy. Every morning, she sends you sweet messages, and every night, she makes sure to remind you how much she cares. You start to believe that you have found something special, something rare. But then, reality begins to show itself. At first, you do not notice it because you are still caught up in the excitement of a new relationship. But as time goes on, small things start to change. She becomes more curious about your daily activities. She starts asking more questions, where you are going, what time you will be back, and who you are with. At first, this feels like a sign of care, like she just wants to be close to you. But soon, you realize that she wants constant updates. If you take too long to reply to her messages, she becomes upset. If you do something without her, she wonders why you did not invite her. Then, jealousy starts to appear. In the beginning, her protectiveness feels sweet. She asks if you are talking to other women, and you laugh it off, thinking it is just her way of showing she cares. But over time, her jealousy grows stronger. If she sees you chatting with another woman, even in a completely innocent way, she wants to know who she is and why you are talking to her. If you go out with friends, she questions why she was not included. What once felt like love and devotion now begins to feel like control. Then, there is her family. In the early days of the relationship, you loved how close she was to them. It felt heartwarming to see her take care of her siblings, respect her parents, and value her relatives. She told you stories about her childhood, about how much she loves her family, and about how important they are to her. You admired that. But slowly, you begin to realize that her family is not just important to her, they are a part of your relationship. She shares everything with them. If you and she have an argument, her mother or sister knows about it before you even have a chance to talk things through. If she is unsure about something, she asks her family for advice instead of working things out with you first. At first, this seems harmless, but over time, you start to feel like your private relationship is no longer just between the two of you. And then, financial discussions begin. She never asks for money directly, but she mentions struggles. She talks about how her younger sibling is struggling to pay school fees. She shares stories about how her father is sick and needs medical treatment. She tells you how expensive life can be, and how hard she works to support her family. She never says, "Can you help?" but the way she talks about these issues makes you feel like you should. At first, it feels natural to help. You love her, and you want to see her happy. You give a little money for something small, like groceries or a utility bill. She thanks you, tells you how much she appreciates you, and reminds you that she never expects anything from you. But then, the requests continue. What started as a one-time favor becomes more frequent. Slowly, you begin to feel like you are not just supporting her, but her entire family. Some men accept this as part of the culture. They understand that Filipinas are deeply connected to their families and that being in a relationship with a Filipina means being involved with her family's well-being. Others, however, begin to feel pressure. They start to wonder if their Filipina truly loves them, or if they are just seen as a financial provider. At the same time, her possessiveness starts to feel more intense. She expects you to put her first in everything. She wants constant reassurance that you love her, and no matter how many times you say it, it never seems to be enough. She worries when you do things without her. She doubts you when you say you are loyal. She always needs proof of your commitment. For some men, this is the point where the relationship no longer feels like a dream. They still love their Filipina, but they feel overwhelmed. They feel like they have lost their freedom, like they are being watched all the time, like they are carrying responsibilities they never agreed to. For those who marry too soon, the situation becomes even more complicated. Some foreigners believe that marriage will make things better, that it will remove doubts, secure loyalty, and create a stronger bond. But in the Philippines, marriage is almost permanent. Divorce does not exist, and annulments are expensive and difficult. If a foreigner marries a Filipina without fully understanding what that commitment means, he may find himself in a situation where he feels trapped. Some men adjust to the cultural expectations and accept that being with a Filipina comes with responsibilities. They provide for her family, they reassure her constantly, and they embrace the traditional roles of a provider. Others start feeling resentful, realizing too late that they entered something they were not prepared for. But not all relationships end this way. Some foreigners take their time. They observe before committing, they ask the right questions early, and they set clear boundaries. They make sure their Filipina loves them for who they are, not just for what they can provide. The foreigners who succeed in relationships with Filipinas are the ones who approach love with both heart and mind. They respect her culture but also ensure their own needs are met. They build relationships based on trust, communication, and realistic expectations. So, is love in the Philippines really this effortless? The truth is, it depends. Love here is real, but it is not always as simple as it seems at first. If you take your time, communicate openly, and understand the cultural differences, you can build a relationship that is strong and lasting. But if you rush in, believing only in the fantasy, you may find yourself facing unexpected challenges. Before making any big commitments, ask yourself, do I fully understand what this relationship involves? Have we discussed money, family, and expectations? Am I making this decision based on reality, or just emotions? If your answer is yes, then dating a Filipina can be one of the most rewarding experiences of your life. But if you have doubts, take your time. True love is never rushed. The best relationships are built on trust, understanding, and shared values. If you enter with both your heart and mind open, you may just find the love of a lifetime. At first, her devotion feels like pure love. But over time, you start noticing things you didn't expect. She asks where you are, who you are with, and what you are doing every day. If you take too long to reply, she becomes upset. What started as affectionate care now feels like constant monitoring. Then, there is her family. At first, you loved how close they were. But now, you realize that they are deeply involved in your relationship. If they have financial problems, she expects you to help. If her family has opinions about your relationship, she listens to them. Slowly, what once felt like a simple, loving relationship starts to feel more complicated. At first, you might not think much of it. She cares about you, that's what love is, right? She just wants to know you're safe, she wants to be included in your daily life, and she wants to feel close to you. But as time goes on, you start feeling like you have no personal space. Every time you go out, she asks who you are with, where you are going, and when you will be back. If you are too busy to reply to her messages right away, she starts assuming the worst. If you don't give her enough attention, she feels neglected. At first, it was cute. It made you feel important. But now, it feels like she is always watching, always waiting for you to prove your love. You feel like you have to explain yourself all the time. If you want to go somewhere alone, she gets sad. If you want to spend time with friends, she wonders why she is not invited. What once felt like devotion now starts to feel like control. Then, there's the issue of her family. In the beginning, you admired how much she loved them. You thought it was beautiful how close she was to her parents and siblings. She told you stories about growing up, about how her family always supported each other, and you felt lucky to be welcomed into such a warm environment. But soon, you start to see that their role in her life is much bigger than you expected. She does not make decisions on her own. If she has a problem, she talks to her mother or sister first. If she wants to plan something for your future together, she consults her family before discussing it with you. And if there is ever a disagreement between you two, her family knows about it before you even have a chance to fix things. You also start noticing something else, financial expectations. At first, she never asked for anything. She always said she loved you for who you are, not for your money. But as time goes on, she starts mentioning her family's struggles more often. She tells you that her younger brother needs help with school fees. She talks about how her parents are getting older and have medical bills. She shares how hard it is to support everyone with her salary. She does not ask directly, but she hints at it. She looks at you, waiting for you to offer help. You love her, so of course, you want to make her happy. So, you give a little, maybe you pay for a small expense, maybe you help her with rent, maybe you cover a bill for her parents. She thanks you, tells you how much she appreciates you, and reminds you that she would never expect anything from you. But then, it happens again. Another problem, another expense. What started as a one-time favor turns into something more regular. Before you know it, you are supporting her family, not just her. And here is the tricky part, you don't want to be the bad guy. You don't want to say no because you love her. You don't want to disappoint her. But at the same time, you start feeling like you are no longer just her boyfriend or husband, you are now also a provider. The more you give, the more it starts feeling expected. And if you ever say no, she looks hurt. She does not argue, she does not demand, but she becomes distant. She becomes quiet. She tells you she understands, but you can feel the disappointment. And this makes you feel guilty. At the same time, her jealousy is growing stronger. She checks your phone when you are not looking. She asks about every woman who likes your photos on social media. She starts to believe that if she is not always with you, you will find someone else. She wants to know what you are doing at all times, not because she doesn't trust you, but because she is afraid of losing you. She doesn't want you to just tell her you love her, she wants you to prove it, every single day. And no matter how much you reassure her, it never feels like enough. For some foreign men, this is when the relationship starts to feel overwhelming. They love their Filipina, but they also feel like they are losing control of their own life. They feel pressured, financially, emotionally, and socially. For those who marry too soon, things become even more complicated. Some foreigners believe that marriage will make things better, that it will remove insecurities, fix jealousy, and make the relationship more stable. But in the Philippines, marriage is almost permanent. Divorce does not exist, and annulments are difficult, expensive, and time-consuming. If a foreigner marries without fully understanding what that commitment means, he may find himself in a situation where he feels trapped. Some men stay in unhappy marriages because they feel guilty about leaving. Others realize too late that separating is not as easy as they thought. But not every relationship ends this way. Some foreigners take their time. They ask the right questions early. They set boundaries before making commitments. They make sure their Filipina loves them for who they are, not just for what they can provide. The foreigners who succeed in relationships with Filipinas are the ones who approach love with both heart and mind. They respect her culture but also make sure their own needs are met. They build relationships based on trust, communication, and shared expectations. So, is love in the Philippines really simple? The truth is, it depends. Love here is real, but it comes with expectations. It is not always as effortless as it seems at first. If you take your time, communicate openly, and understand the cultural differences, you can build a strong, lasting relationship. But if you rush in, believing only in the fantasy, you may find yourself facing unexpected problems. Before making any big commitments, ask yourself, do I truly understand what this relationship involves? Have we talked about money, family, and expectations? Am I making this decision based on reality, or just emotions? If your answer is yes, then dating a Filipina can be one of the most rewarding experiences of your life. But if you have doubts, take your time. True love is never rushed. The best relationships are built on trust, understanding, and shared values. If you enter with both your heart and mind open, you may just find the love of a lifetime. Some foreigners rush into marriage, thinking that love is enough. But then, reality sets in. They realize that their Filipina has expectations they never talk about, whether it's supporting her family or adjusting to her way of thinking. Some feel overwhelmed, some feel trapped. In the worst cases, men realize too late that they made a commitment without fully understanding what it meant. And because divorce is not an option in the Philippines, they have limited ways to leave the situation. But does this mean love here is not real? Not at all. The difference between a happy relationship and a difficult one is preparation. At first, everything feels perfect. The relationship is exciting, full of love and devotion. A Filipina treats her man with care, making sure he is always comfortable and happy. She wakes up early to prepare food, she checks on him throughout the day, and she makes him feel like he is the center of her world. Unlike in many Western relationships, where personal space and independence are highly valued, here in the Philippines, love means togetherness. A Filipina wants to be close to the man she loves, to spend as much time as possible with him, and to show him in every way that he is important. For many foreign men, this level of devotion feels like a dream. They are not used to a woman who prioritizes them so much. They feel wanted, appreciated, and respected. They think, this is what love should be. So, they don't waste time. Many foreigners propose marriage within months, believing that they have found their perfect partner. But what happens when the honeymoon phase is over? That's when reality begins to show itself. Many foreigners do not take the time to fully understand what it means to marry a Filipina. They think love will fix everything, that feelings alone will be enough to keep the relationship strong. But love, no matter how deep, is not the only thing that keeps a marriage successful. There are expectations, responsibilities, and cultural differences that must be understood before making such a life-changing decision. One of the biggest surprises for many foreigners is the role of family. In Western countries, marriage is mostly about two people building a life together. But in the Philippines, family is deeply involved in every relationship. A Filipina does not just marry her husband, she brings her whole family into the marriage as well. At first, this seems like a beautiful thing. A foreigner sees how much she loves her parents, how much she supports her siblings, and how deeply connected she is to her relatives. But soon, he realizes that this connection comes with responsibilities. If her parents are struggling financially, she feels responsible to help. If her siblings need money for school, she feels obligated to contribute. If there's a family problem, she listens to their opinions before making decisions. And this is where financial expectations begin to surface. Many foreigners are not prepared for the financial responsibilities that come with marrying a Filipina. Some men assume that because she never asked for money while dating, she will never expect financial help. But once marriage happens, things change. Her family now sees her husband as part of the family, and in Filipino culture, family helps each other, especially those who have the ability to provide. At first, it starts small. She mentions that her parents' house needs repairs. She talks about how her younger brother is struggling to pay for school. She tells him about a relative's medical bills. She never asks directly, but she hints at the problems, expecting him to offer. And so, he does. He thinks, she loves me. This is my wife. I want to take care of her and her family. He gives a little money here and there. But over time, the requests continue. What started as small favors slowly turns into bigger expectations. The more he gives, the more it becomes a routine. Then, one day, he realizes something: he is now the financial provider for her entire family. If he refuses to help, she becomes distant. She doesn't argue, she doesn't demand, but she changes. She says she understands, but she seems sad. She acts differently. She makes him feel guilty for not helping. Now, he feels trapped. He still loves her, but he also feels like he's carrying a responsibility he never agreed to. At the same time, jealousy becomes an issue. A Filipina's devotion is deep, but it also comes with possessiveness. She expects full commitment from her husband, which means she wants to know everything: where he is, who he is with, and what he is doing. In the beginning, her jealousy felt cute. It made him feel important. But over time, he realizes that she needs constant reassurance. If he does not answer her messages immediately, she gets upset. If she sees him talking to another woman, even in a professional setting, she questions him. She asks if he still loves her, if he is still committed, if he is still loyal. No matter how many times he reassures her, it never seems to be enough. For some men, this is the moment when the marriage starts to feel like a burden. They feel like they have lost their independence, like they are being monitored, like their life is no longer fully their own. And then, the realization comes: divorce is not an option. Many foreigners do not think about this before marrying a Filipina. They believe that if the marriage does not work out, they can always separate. But in the Philippines, divorce is illegal. The only way out of a marriage is an annulment, which is expensive, complicated, and takes years to process. Some foreigners feel stuck in a marriage that they were not ready for. They feel trapped, with no easy way out. But does this mean love in the Philippines is not real? Absolutely not. Many foreign men have happy, successful marriages with Filipinas. The difference between a happy marriage and a difficult one is preparation. The men who succeed in marriages with Filipinas are the ones who take their time. They ask the right questions before proposing. They talk about finances early. They set clear boundaries. They make sure their Filipina loves them for who they are, not just for what they can provide. A happy marriage is built on understanding, communication, and shared expectations. So, before rushing into marriage, ask yourself, do I truly understand her expectations? Have we talked about money and family responsibilities? Am I making this decision based on love and logic, or just emotions? If your answer is yes, then marrying a Filipina can be one of the best decisions of your life. But if you have doubts, take your time. True love is never rushed. If you prepare yourself, if you understand the culture, and if you go into marriage with open eyes, you may just find the love of a lifetime. So, is dating a Filipina really what you expect? The truth is, it depends. Love in the Philippines is real, but it comes with responsibilities that many foreigners don't see at first. If you take your time, communicate openly, and understand the cultural differences, you can build a strong, lasting relationship. But if you rush in blindly, believing only in the fantasy, you may find yourself facing unexpected challenges. Before you take the next step, ask yourself, are you truly ready for the reality of dating a Filipina? Many foreigners come to the Philippines with the idea that relationships here are simple and easy. They believe that Filipinas are naturally affectionate, devoted, and committed partners who will love them unconditionally. And in many ways, this is true. Filipinas are known for their deep emotional connections, their willingness to care for their partner, and their belief in long-term relationships. But what many foreigners do not realize is that love in the Philippines is not just about romance. It is also about responsibilities, cultural expectations, and deep family ties that play a much bigger role than they might have imagined. At first, everything feels perfect. A Filipina makes you feel special in a way that you may not have experienced before. She calls you sweet names, checks on you constantly, and wants to spend as much time with you as possible. She prioritizes you, makes you feel needed, and gives you attention that can be overwhelming in the best way. Unlike in many Western relationships, where partners are often independent and busy with their own lives, a Filipina sees love as something that should be nurtured every single day. She wants to be close to you, to always be present, and to show you how much she cares. For many foreign men, this is exactly what they have been searching for. They feel appreciated, valued, and truly loved. They start to believe that they have finally found the perfect relationship, one that is built on affection, loyalty, and commitment. But as time goes on, they start to see that this kind of devotion also comes with expectations. One of the biggest surprises for many foreigners is how involved a Filipina's family is in the relationship. At first, this seems like a beautiful thing. She introduces you to her parents and siblings early on, and they welcome you with warmth and kindness. You enjoy the big family gatherings, the way they treat you as part of the family, and the strong bond that connects them. But soon, you realize that this closeness is not just about love, it also means that family opinions, decisions, and even financial struggles become part of your life. Many foreigners do not expect that when they date a Filipina, they are also entering into a relationship with her family. This does not mean that every Filipina expects her foreign partner to support her family financially, but in Filipino culture, it is common for children to take care of their parents and siblings. Family comes first, and the expectation is that if one person is doing well, they will help those who are struggling. If you are in a serious relationship or married to a Filipina, you may find that she feels a responsibility to help her family, and she may expect you to support her in that. At first, the requests may be small. Maybe she needs help with her younger sibling's school fees, or her parents need money for medicine. She never directly asks, but she tells you about these struggles in a way that makes you feel like you should offer. And because you love her, you do. But then, as time goes on, the requests become more frequent. It starts to feel like your financial support is not just for her, but for her entire family. If you hesitate to help, she may not get angry, but she may become distant, quiet, or sad. She may say that she understands, but you can feel her disappointment. And this can put a lot of pressure on you. At the same time, her deep love and devotion may start to feel overwhelming. At first, you loved how much she cared about you, but over time, you start to feel like you have lost some of your independence. She wants to know where you are at all times, who you are talking to, and what you are doing. If you do not respond to her messages quickly, she may assume something is wrong. If you want to spend time alone or with friends, she may wonder why she is not included. What once felt like affection now starts to feel like control. Jealousy can also become a challenge. Many Filipinas are very protective of their relationships, and they expect full commitment. If she sees you talking to another woman, even in a friendly way, she may start asking questions. She wants constant reassurance that you love her, and no matter how many times you tell her, it never seems to be enough. If you do not give her attention, she worries. If you take too long to reply, she starts to think that you are losing interest. And over time, this can start to feel exhausting. For those who rush into marriage, these challenges become even more serious. Some foreigners believe that marriage will fix everything, that it will make their Filipina feel more secure and remove any doubts or insecurities. But in the Philippines, marriage is almost permanent. Divorce does not exist, and annulments are extremely difficult and expensive. If you marry a Filipina without fully understanding the expectations, you may find yourself in a situation where you feel trapped. Some foreigners stay in unhappy marriages because they do not want to abandon their wife, especially if they have children together. Others feel guilty about leaving, knowing that their wife and her family depended on them. They feel obligated to continue providing financial support, even when they are no longer happy in the relationship. And this is why it is so important to truly understand what you are committing to before making a decision. But does this mean that dating a Filipina is not worth it? Absolutely not. Many foreigners find deep, lasting love with Filipinas, and many have happy, successful marriages. The difference between a happy relationship and a difficult one is preparation. The men who take their time, ask the right questions, and set clear boundaries before making a commitment are the ones who build strong, lasting relationships. A successful relationship with a Filipina is built on trust, communication, and shared expectations. You need to be open about your thoughts on finances, family involvement, and personal space from the beginning. You need to understand her values, and she needs to understand yours. Love alone is not enough. You need to be prepared for the reality of what a relationship in the Philippines truly means. Before taking the next step, ask yourself if you are ready for the cultural differences, the family involvement, and the responsibilities that come with dating a Filipina. Have you talked about money? Have you talked about how much time you expect to spend together? Have you discussed the role of her family in your relationship? If you have, and you both understand and accept each other's expectations, then you have a strong foundation for a happy and lasting relationship. If you truly take the time to know her, to understand her world, and to build a relationship based on honesty and trust, you may just find the love of a lifetime. But if you rush in blindly, believing only in the fantasy, you may face challenges you never expected. Love in the Philippines is real, but it is not always as simple as it seems. If you approach it with both heart and mind, you will have a much better chance of finding happiness.